Welcome to another Lifelong Learning Study Skills Workshop video. Today we're going to look at a time management technique called the project planning sheet. If you would like to go ahead and write down my email address, later on if you'd like to email me, I can send you a blank copy of this project planning sheet that you can download to your desktop and you can print off whenever you have a project and you want to plan out what you're going to do each night up to the project date. Also, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I will often tweet different techniques or articles that I find that pertain to study skills. Often I'll hashtag it as Study Skills Workshop. So my Twitter account is Mr. Panfalone. So if you'd like to join that, feel free. So what is the project planning sheet? Well, let's first talk about human nature. Most of us tend to wait to the last minute to get things done. Procrastination is a human problem. Unfortunately, when we do that with projects, that usually ends up with a grade that we're not happy with, or we haven't learned as much as we should have. And so a project planning sheet actually tackles a couple issues. One, the issue of procrastination, but also tackles the issue of stress. We're not going to be able to eliminate stress, but we can definitely reduce stress by sitting down the moment we are assigned a project and filling out one of these sheets. Now, you might say, hey, Mr. Panfalone, this is just one more piece of paper I have to fill out. This is going to take time, and I totally understand that. However, the investment of time on this will definitely pay off, and here's why. Let's suppose today you are assigned a project. First thing you do is write the name of the project at the top of the sheet. You put the due date. How many days are left until the due date? And it depends. You guys might have small projects that might be due in 3 or 4 days. You could have a project that's a 2-week ongoing project that's partially in class, partially outside of class. Or it could be something that's not due until the very end of the quarter. Nonetheless, write down the due date, how many days until that due date. This is very similar to the reading calendar, if you're familiar with this, is that we're going to do a little mathematics here to figure out what needs to get done each day by the time the due date arrives. So the next step is listing the items. Okay, what are some different things that you need to get this project done? Let's say the project involves a trifold poster. Well, you don't have one of those at home. That maybe you're going to have to go to Walmart or Michael's tonight and buy one of those. So you're going to list all the items that you need to get the project completed. The next step, you can see it says list what needs to be done to complete this project. You're going to list the actual actions that you need to do. So maybe you're doing a project in science about volcanoes, and one of the things you need to do is print a picture of a volcano. Well, then write that down. Now notice my list there only has 1 through 8. Chances are all the actions that need to take place to get this thing done might be 15 to 20. So you'll just have to add another sheet. But once you're done with listing the different things that you need to do, if you look there on the right-hand side of the screen, this is the back of the paper. You're going to determine how many days there are until the project is due and divide it by the number of tasks. And then you are going to say, okay, today's the first day. Here's what I'm going to do tonight specifically for the project. And you're going to write that down on this timeline. And you're going to do that all the way up to the due date. And once you do that, you're going to start realizing if you do a little bit each night, this project is not as overwhelming as you think. You're still going to have to work hard. You're still going to have to give effort. But if you waited till the night before to do these things, it would be really, really challenging. And in a minute here, I'm going to show you an example of a kid who had a project when we did a project in American history about the American presidents. And he chose President Washington, and he created a project planning sheet for this. And so that'll give you an example. Also, like I said previously in the video, if you send me an email, I will be glad to send you a blank copy of these project planning sheets so that you can have it on your desktop anytime you need it. You can print them off and go from there. So as you can see right here, a student of mine a number of years ago, we did a American Presidents project, and he chose President Washington. It was due on Friday, March the 8th. And so I had him sit down and identify what are the things that you need to get this job done. So obviously he needed a trifold poster board, construction papers, and other artistic supplies. Then I asked him to list each thing that he needs to do so that by the time March 8th arrives, he will have this project done and done well because he's taken his time throughout this. Because if you look at that, look at number one, print a picture of General Washington. Let's be honest, how much time commitment does that really require? You can get on Google, type in images, type in General Washington, not president, because you need a picture of George Washington prior to him being a president as part of your project. And sift through some of the pictures, copy it, paste it in Microsoft Word, save the document, print it off. That would probably take about 5 minutes. Now, if you take all of these things and then you create a timeline like you see here, the first night that he received this project from me, he said, I'm going to go out tonight with my parents and I'm going to buy materials. That's the only thing he has to do tonight. The next day, he only printed a picture of President Washington. Again, just like I said, that's going to take 5 minutes. And if you look at these, most of these things don't require too much. Now, some of the things, like if you look at Tuesday the 28th, and he has to do some research about President Washington's military background. Well, that's not going to be as simple as printing off a picture. But most of these things are not going to require much more than 25, 30 minutes. Now, imagine having to do all of this on Sunday, the day before the project's due. Or in this case, Thursday night, the day before the project due on Friday the 8th. This would be very, very overwhelming. But if you take the time to produce this project planning sheet ahead of time, and you actually follow through on these, then this project is not going to be as overwhelming. Also, when you create this timeline, you have to consider that there may be situations where there are certain days that you can't work on the project, and that's okay. There may be a time, let's say Tuesday the 28th, was a day that's your dad's birthday and mom planned a big party, grandparents are coming. That whole day after school is not going to be a day where you're really going to have time to do the project. Okay, that's all right. So when you plan this project out and you fill out this planning sheet, you've got to think about future events or certain days. If you're a soccer player and Saturdays are all-day soccer tournaments, well, you're not going to probably work on the project. Keep that in mind as you guys are making this project planning sheet. And if you do this, I can't promise that you'll have no stress, but this project planning sheet will reduce the amount of stress because you are going step by step, kind of like the reading calendar, and you're dividing up the work into smaller bits that are a lot more manageable than if you wait and procrastinate the night before. If you have any questions, I'm going to put up my screen here with my email address that you can send an email to me. You're also going to send me an email asking for a blank copy, or I can even send you a copy of this one that's already done so it gives you an idea. So thank you again for taking the time to watch one of my lifelong learning study skills workshop videos. And again, if you have questions, there's my email and there is my handle at Twitter. Thank you again. Have a great day.